But just a little bit of background, what's going on. So Tobias and I have been doing a show every Friday night on Twitch, and talking about it, from we're obviously, both academics, right? So talking about it from and we've both been involved with dance cult and dance cult scholarship for a long time. So talking about it from these perspectives and thinking through it theoretically, is kind of what we've been up to, and that's what this presentation is about. And we're just kind of thinking through the different ways that moving DJing into this virtual format has affected the way we think about a lot of these things. So just as a little bit of a background, back in about 2006 or 2007, I was DJing at home a lot with vinyl records. I was DJing out too, but I mean, this really kind of these ideas kind of germinated in the bedroom DJ setting. I was also playing with audio streaming using IceCast. For me, I had a pretty limited audience, but occasionally I would have friends come over to tag team and DJ. We'd play a couple songs each and go back and forth. And I wanted to be able to do that, without necessarily, the person having to come over and me having to go to their place and do, and I just kind of, thought about this and, trying to work with ways to, kind of do this. And this was sound only at the time. We weren't using video or any of that stuff that we do now. Never really got further than, figuring out a way to send my stream to somebody else or have them send theirs to me, and then never got to the point of broadcasting or really ever making it actually work. Kind of that's what, when Tobias and I started doing this after the pandemic started, what happened. Meanwhile, in around 2010 and 11, Tobias and I started collaborating on theories of technology and DJ culture. And these things grew out of just an email exchange that was about the relationships between authenticity, technology, and music. And we were arguing about the centrality of the vinyl record experience in DJ culture. And that sort of, email argument conversation turned into a couple of pieces in dance cult. And at the time, I was also working with Ana Gavanas, who's also presented at this conference, on a special issue of Dance Cult that was devoted to DJ culture. And these debates and the articles in Dance Cult that kind of resulted from them seemed at the time far more urgent and important due to what was going on in the backdrop of the industry and in terms of technological developments at the time, specifically in 2010, that many of these developments signified the death of vinyl. And I've, these are three different, these little images here are three different versions of the death of vinyl, or aspects of what people thought was the death of vinyl. First of all, Panasonic in the end of 2009 had just announced that they would stop production of the iconic SL1200 turntable, which of course was the turntable of choice for DJs that DJ'd with vinyl. And they were going to end the 1200 and 1210 turntable line completely. As many people know, they have restarted it again since then, but in 2010 it seemed like that was a huge turning point. Pioneer, a company that is very prominent in clubs because of their CDJs, they had just come out in 2010 with the CDJ 2000, and this is from an ad, and they used a number of ads where they marketed as natural selection, right? So of course they're playing upon the idea of the DJ as selector, right? But they are also kind of invoking Darwin, right? That the Darwin's natural selection, that the next stage of evolution after the vinyl turntable was going to be the CDJ or digital music. And another thing that happened was the international competition, the DMC announced in 2010 for the first time that they would allow DJs to compete using digital systems instead of just vinyl records. As if to kind of dramatize these developments, there was a company called Vinyl that in 2010 2010 announced that you could press your dead ashes to vinyl after you die, and you could, you know, make a record and put whatever you want on that record, your voice or your favorite songs or whatever. So now not only was vinyl dead, right, death was now on vinyl. And that was, you know, kind of why 2010, at least for me, you know, seemed like a really, really dramatic moment to be talking about and debating these issues. Now, move ahead a decade, right, and enter the pandemic. Many jobs, obviously, especially academic work, right, started moving online, and that's kind of how we survived and continue to do our work thanks to video streaming technologies. DJs had already been using streaming platforms like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Mixcloud, etc. You know, these a lot of us, you know, started to do this in a much bigger way online because, of course, we weren't playing in clubs anymore for a while. So I mean, I think all four of us here have done online shows, you know, as a result of the pandemic, and, you know, have been DJing online in many ways. And at the time, both Tobias and I had started doing this separately. We were DJing, and we just started talking about, you know, let's do this thing, you know, that where we can try to figure out how we can, you know, mix into each other's streams and actually go to this, you know, kind of energy of a back-to-back set. Because it's one thing to play in your bedroom alone, even if you have, you know, 50 followers watching you on Twitch or YouTube. You know, the excitement of an online performance, the vibe that we were talking about in the last panel, you know, that wasn't always there, right? So how to recreate that, and one way is to kind of have this live back-to-back performance, but it is a big technological challenge, you know, particularly because of the latency involved. So just a few things about Twitch. Twitch, of course, started as a gaming platform, or it was primarily used in the beginning as a gaming platform. They actually had categories for music and for live events and stuff as well, right from the beginning, but it really was taken over in the beginning by gamers, you know, and it had a consistent interface where the, you know, example in the bottom left corner here of, you know, a talking head with the background of the game, and then these widgets where you could have different things. You could have advertisements, you could have your logo, you know, you could have other kinds of information about how many people are following you, and all those kinds of things could be in there. And that was sort of the aesthetic of Twitch that actually, you know, kind of lent itself pretty well to music streaming, you know. And interestingly, you know, one of the discussions that we had back in 2010 about you know, digital versus vinyl DJing was about the aesthetic of the video game, right? That it was, you know, one of the problems that a lot of people had with digital DJs was it seemed like they were playing a video game rather than actually playing records, right? So they weren't necessarily connecting as much to the audience. They were connecting to a screen, and that seemed a little bit of alienating, dehumanizing, etc. And with Twitch, actually, a lot of, you know, there's a number of vinyl DJs on Twitch that are playing old school vinyl, you know, playing their vinyl collections, but doing it in this digital interface. So the bedroom DJ becomes mainstreamed here. Here's some examples. You know, the top one is I think his name's Addison Groove. I hope I'm not getting that wrong, right? Anybody know Addison Groove? Anyway, he was one of the earlier DJs to adopt this the Twitch format successfully. And you know, you can see just the different aesthetics that are present here. That, you know, some are very simple, right? Some are more complex, and then some are, you know, kind of putting it into the tunnel of a television set or of a, you know, the screen of a video game, etc. And you know, the other thing, people play with camera angles and things like that, so you can see the, you know, the hands on the DJ equipment. You can see, you know, different angles, and then the, you know, the you know, frontal DJ shots. Again, you know, kind of more simple sets with vinyl versus, you know, a little bit more complex using avatars and emojis and things like that flying across the screen. And again, the widgets with information, you know, about who just followed, and you know who liked this song or that song, etc. And then you know some of the aesthetic, you know, kind of changes this around, where you have the screen as a background, and usually I assume this person's using a green screen so that they can you know project whatever they want on the background, you know, with videos of people dancing and things like that. so Tobias and I, we're both kind of doing our own shows, and we worked on a solution, and it really took a while. It took us a while to figure this out, how to do it yourself, B2B, back to back DJing solution, right? So we sorted this out, and I have like a very primitive looking diagram of what we tried to do, but I'll try to walk through this somewhat quickly, right? So these are the two DJs with analog out going to a sound card that converts the analog to digital, and the digital going to a, this is all, this whole section here is all in your computer. It's software with a virtual sound card and a virtual router, channeling, essentially routing the signals in various places. And then essentially what we figured out is that we needed two separate digital audio streams. One of those digital audio streams would go using software called IceCast, would be broadcast directly to the other DJ's sound card, converted back to analog, and then sent into that DJ's mixer. So that becomes a channel on, one DJ's mixer, and the other DJ is doing the same, analog out, digital, convert to digital and into the software. And then the first digital audio stream is going back into the first DJ's sound card, convert back to analog, and then go back into the mixer. So each of us have a separate mixer channel with a separate audio stream going, into our mixers that we can then mix in and out of. Then there's a second audio stream that is grouped with a video stream using OBS or Mimo Live, which is software for video streaming. And then that is sent, each DJ sends a separate combination video audio stream to an application called StreamYard that is a website, and Tobias has been running this on StreamYard. He's been handling the mixing of the two video sources on StreamYard and the two audio sources, and he switches the audio back and forth, and then that is sent, that video is then sent to Twitch, which then goes to the audience, and then the audience, can listen to it, can convert it back to analog and listen to it in their speakers. So it's really kind of this complicated thing. And just a couple of things I want to say about this. The biggest problem here was latency, right? Because the internet is not instant. There is a little bit of latency, and so there is a lag, and that lag has to be compensated for. And we figured out a rather primitive but simple solution to compensating for the lag, which is the lag remains there, but the lag, it takes place in the switchover. So the key is to switch the streams while only one song is playing, rather than during a mix. Like if you switch it during the mix, it's gonna, the mix will sound all messed up. But this way, if you switch it during one song, it's a little bit less noticeable. If people aren't, closely listening for it, you may miss it. Sometimes it's even right on beat, but even when it's not on beat, it just sounds like a little hiccup, and then it keeps going. So when people are actually watching in the audience and experiencing this, it seems much more seamless than the latency would normally allow for. And one of the things that's going on here, right, is that what the audience is listening to is something that neither Tobias nor I are actually listening to, right? I'm listening to Tobias's stream on that separate, right, this digital audio one stream, and he's listening to my stream, which is a separate stream, and those are being put together. So it's almost like we're creating an illusion of a performance that never actually took place the way it is received. And so Tobias, me, and the audience are having three, separate kinds of experiences, really, at the same time. But those three experiences are mixed together, and then that becomes Pandemics at the Disco. And you can see we play around with the different visual formats, and layouts, and kind of have a lot of fun with it. So just a few words about the implications of this. I just want to say a couple of these things. So I've really divided some of the implications that I looked at into technology, performance, and curation. So in terms of technology, I talked about how we try to overcome latency. There's also this question of the video gaming experience. Is there a big difference, which obviously there is, between DJing, live and DJing on Twitch? As kind of in some ways you're emulating this video game experience. And then there's other aspects of Twitch, which Tobias is going to talk about some of these, I believe, microcurrencies and emojis and stuff that try to recreate the audience experience through Twitch. in terms of performance, right? This question of authenticity and the real, again, you know, just, and by the way, this is in some ways not that different, but just a little bit removed from what happens when you listen to a record album, right? When you listen to a record album, you're listening to a performance that never took place, if it was recorded in the studio anyway, right? So the drummer recorded a track, the guitarist recorded it, you know, everybody recorded these tracks separately, and it was mixed down in the studio. So what you hear is a performance that's not quote unquote real, but nevertheless, the goal is some sort of fidelity to the real. Also, in terms of performance, audience engagement really takes place in a very different way, right? The aesthetic of Twitch is like the aesthetic of the early internet relay chat, right? Where, you know, there's this chat going on. And of course, you add things that didn't exist in the old days, like emojis and things like that. But it's an attempt to kind of recreate the physical interaction that you might have on the dance floor. The vibe that we were talking about in the last panel, you know, I mean, how do we kind of recreate the vibe or get at the vibe? I think Jason Delgandio called it bodily emanation. How do we do that in a disembodied format, right? How do we do that in a mostly non-physical space? And then finally, this idea of curation that I was talking about, you know, the sort of live selection, right? That, you know, we're kind of recreating the excitement of live selection through this back-to-back performance, right? But it's very different from if you're DJing in front of a crowd, right? And you see what the crowd is vibing off of and you feel the vibe. And often like the next song just comes to you. Oh yeah, that's the record I need to get, right? You know, how do you recreate that? It's a little bit different because we're vibing off of each other, but we're also kind of dealing with the latency problem, the technological challenges at the same time. And so it's almost like, you know, a displacement of this idea of a collective curatorial performance. So it's very different than it would be back-to-back DJing in person. So that's what I'm going to say about that. And then I'm going to, I guess I will introduce Tobias, and then you know, you can riff off of these. So Tobias van Veen is a visiting professor at Acadia University with Dr. Oh
no, I'm not.
I'm sorry, I'm reading your old. Why don't you do this part? Why don't you do this part since you're my host, James? So sorry about that.
Sorry. That's all right. It's all good. If I'm unforgivably blunt this morning, it's because my mouth can only make so many words.
Yeah. Go for it. What are you doing these days?
I'm a near perpetual sessional, so thus I teach everywhere I can, and mostly online during the pandemic. So yeah, I'm back at Quest University here in Squamish, British Columbia, which is why I'm totally exhausted, because I'm teaching on the block system, which is 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I'm happy to say, you know, I just want to actually jump in and just say the Raid Fest is happening right now. And if you have the capability on your laptop to open up a second tab, you can go to raidfest.com, which is the main website, which shows the main schedule and gives you all the link throughs for every DJ performance over the next 50 hours of programming. It's happening right now. There's a link in the chat to Gold Arndest, who is currently streaming live from the UK with a really beautiful overlay setup too on Twitch, which really shows the creativity possible. I actually want to situate this too and by the way, Ben, absolutely fantastic intro, because Ben and I have just not had the chance to really collab or prepare for this. Which speaks a lot to the precarity of academics coming back from the pandemic, like reinserting back into live teaching situations that we are all experiencing right now. So this conference takes place at a really interesting, transitional, intense time, I think, for a lot of us at the beginning of September as we head back into teaching and everything else. So I just want to recognize that right now, the labor that went into this conference, and that also speaks to the labor that I put into the Raid Fest. I put in close to 12 hours on top of a 8-hour teaching day yesterday to finish up everything. So, yep. It's going on right now. Check it out. And what's interesting about this Raid Festival, like this thing that's been curated, is first of all, it's 55 hours. It's basically impossible to consume like any single human being, at least without a lot of neurochemical support. So it actually speaks a bit to Twitch and internet culture in and of itself and how it intersects festival culture, because there's internet temporality, right? Internet temporality knows no bounds. And when I curate these kinds of festivals, and especially this one, I'll get DJs who are new to Twitch saying, oh, look, I play this kind of style. Can you put me on at this time? And I just say, You know, it's either a late night set or an early morning set for someone else somewhere on the planet. You know, it doesn't matter what you think that like the time is. There's someone out there somewhere who, you know, will have a different time zone than you, of course, right? So, which is a really interesting phenomena being on Twitch, because you start to become very aware of where you are situated geographically in respect to the world's audiences and their time zones. So Ben and I are on the west coast of North America, which means that as we go later into the night, the time goes out into the Pacific. And so the late night people that we end up connecting with are from Japan, are from Australia, and then it shifts back to the early morning crowd from Europe. So when we play tonight, it'll be in the middle of the night for everyone in the UK. It'll be early morning, but then we're going to raid into Techno Dude, who's in the Netherlands, who will start at 10 a.m. So, you know, he'll be like doing the breakfast set, and we'll be finishing the 1 a.m. set. You know, so time is a really relative phenomenon, you know, on a sphere, which is just in and of itself kind of fascinating and presents all kind of difficulties as to how to do the schedule, right? So I set the schedule in Pacific Daylight Time, and then I set up one other marker of time being 7 hours ahead, that being Central European Standard Time, UTC +2. I'm UTC -7. And everyone on Twitch starts to get very versed about things like Universal Time Code, like UTC, and calculating the differences. And then we have the people in Australia, where even the dates that we have, September 17th to 19th, don't correspond at all. You know, they're like one full day ahead. So for them, this thing runs, you know, Saturday through Monday, right? So it's mind-boggling and kind of interesting and totally fascinating. And it also speaks to the phenomena that Twitch is, and any social network streaming phenomena is, in that we can't actually grapple or view with the actual socio-technical object as such. You know, and I don't know, but the level of algorithmic filtering that goes into Twitch, like, you know, Facebook is highly algorithmically, you know, filtered. So is Twitter, for example. What you're seeing is a pyramid scheme based upon your likes. And we know this is entirely problematic for its echo chamber properties. Twitch actually doesn't seem to be quite like that. Like, I don't know how curated or algorithmically curated their front page is, but what I like about Twitch actually is that it uses a lot of pre-social media internet technology. The chat bar is basically IRC. It's internet relay chat that goes right back to the mid 1990s. It's a scrolling chat feed, and you do pop in the middle of that scroll. You don't get to see the full history of the broadcast. But once you're in it and you're paying attention, it really has the vibe and the feel and the dynamics of IRC. And that's where you start, that's where they've built in an interesting kind of emotional currency as well as financial currency. And this is where you get like microbit capitalism. Because this is, you know, this is how you can support the DJs. And this is also, of course, how, you know, part of how Twitch makes money. First of all, they run pre-roll advertising in front of streams. However, if you subscribe and support the DJ by buying a subscription for a month or a couple months, and you can use your Amazon Prime to get a free subscription, by the way. Hint, hint. Which also shows a higher level corporate tie-in, of course, here, right? And it shows we don't know what's going on with data surveillance and tracking here either. Okay, we simply don't have access, is what I'm saying, to a lot of the back-end dynamics of what Twitch is, how it gathers, you know, data, what it's doing with all this data, who it's selling it to. Okay, that's definitely all sort of part of the mix and part of the concern if you're interested in that. But I'm actually quite fascinated by the culture of emojis that is on Twitch, because you can make your own little emojis. Right? You know, we all know what emojis are, you know, happy faces and smiley faces, but you can make your own, you can design your own, you can make custom emojis for your channel that represent your identity and like what you're up to. And you get more access to emojis as you level up as a Twitch streamer. So it took Ben and I several months to become the lowest level, which is Twitch affiliate. And that gives you access to the microbits and microcurrency system built into Twitch. And to become affiliate, you have to get so many listeners over a certain period of time consistently. You have to stream so many hours a week consistently. And it's tough. Like if you don't have any, like, you know, you might be a big DJ in like your local town. You might have like a club night or something, but that doesn't necessarily translate to Twitch. And it's really interesting, like on Twitch that way. You can go like watch DJ Sneak. You can go watch like for me, these are like huge DJs, like decades of experience, like producing for 35 years, you know, and that blows my mind that I can hang out inside of DJ Sneak's, living room, or Mark Farina, but they might only have a couple hundred people tuned in. You know, which is kind of mind blowing, because they'll be the DJs that when they go play like a club or rave, they're a massive headliner. They will really bring draw. But here on Twitch, it's almost like the rise of the influencer on social media. We really have the rise of the Twitch DJ. So here in Vancouver, like for example, we have some DJs who are 18, 19 years old, and they have thousands of Twitch listeners on their channel. You know, they're very much the next generation of working with the online environment. So part of this knows how do these DJs become popular? Well, I mean, part of it is that the youth audience, the younger audience, is already on Twitch much more than the older rave audience. There's a generational gap there, okay? So as older, more experienced DJs, your audience isn't coming with you, right? Most people I know have kids and are not on Twitch, right? So I'm trying to appeal to a younger demographic, so it's like grandpa DJ, right? That's like part of it. The other thing is you start connecting with older DJs and their vinyl connections, as like Ben pointed out, and that becomes its own fascinating network. You can see all the records behind like PDS mix, and mine are stashed in another room, and Ben's are throughout his entire apartment, but you start to meet other collectors. So that's another kind of thick network that starts to develop. And this all starts to play out in that chat through the emojis. That's how you show like your support and your love, and your financial support. So this is where the bits and the currency comes in. You buy subscriptions. That stops the ad pre-roll, so you don't see the ads when you see another DJ's channel. And you can buy currency. You can buy microbits, and then basically like throw them at DJs. And when you do this, it creates an emotive reaction on screen. There's like things that pop up, and a good DJ will acknowledge this. A good DJ will get on the mic usually. It's a bit more like late night radio that way, right? I find most of the best DJs on Twitch usually get on the mic. Not all of them, but most do. And there's a real beautiful sense of actually, having that real two-way communication, which in my perspective was really the promise of the internet. And it's where social media has absolutely failed for the most part, is we don't have that two-way communication in social media. It's once again like a very one-way, limited, tracked and surveillanced form of pyramid, algorithmic, like discriminated non-communication. Like Instagram is terrible. It's built so you can't actually communicate very well. You can imagine how you could link through and actually make it, promise the internet, and it doesn't. Why? Because they want to control all of that, right? Facebook is just a wasteland. You post something, 5 people see it. You might have 5,000 friends, right? Twitch actually has the promise of that like organic interconnectivity that the World Wide Web was premised upon, of building your own organic, quote unquote organic, okay, in big quotation marks, not that it's any more authentic, and it's definitely filtered at various angles we don't understand. But we're essentially assembling our own DJ networks simply by running into one DJ streaming, checking out recommended channels, which is where the algorithmic filtering comes in, but seeing who the favorite DJs are of each DJ that we encounter. That's literally how we built these networks. That's how I built. I spend a lot of time on Twitch, hanging out on other DJs' channels, popping in, floating our channel emotes, our pandemics channel emotes. People see our silly panda floating around. They click on it, and that brings us to our channel, right? That's another form of like click through, right? So it's been a very organic assemblage of DJs coming together. And this is kind of fascinating, right? This really reminds me of early internet combined with the IRC chat functionality. The other thing that it brings in straight up is that Jello Biafra promise of don't fight the media, become the media.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And Twitch, I think, has a bit of that. Yes, it's corporate control. We don't own the infrastructure. Okay, I get it. But there's something more to this. Like I did cable access television in the early 1990s for many years, live television on Tuesdays. I did really live IceCast like Ben in the 1990s. And when I was doing that had a lot of currency. Like I talked to Richie Houghton about this. Like he would send me like demo tracks and stuff in like the late 90s that were digital when he was working with the invention of Final Scratch. So internet streaming has this long and fascinating history, and I've done a lot of internet streaming shows, like live radio shows, like really at the forefront. Like I worked with the Beta Lounge crew when that was like the first real live internet streaming, and like a real audio crew out of Seattle, like that invented Real Audio, which was the original like internet audio streaming format, like Real Networks. So it's really interesting to see Twitch and the internet evolve with bandwidth, because that's the basis of this, is that we can have throughput 1080 HD video. You know, this is higher quality than we had television in the 90s. We have more or less control over our own broadcast at a certain level. And, you know, this is fascinating in a way. And it's not just music. Like on Twitch, I have a lot of political friends. I have a lot of like lefty political friends, like Anarcho Pinko Bear, who does like live socialist like hangout sessions where he dissects media and talks about it. And it uses all the Twitch gamification and emotes. And so there's all these different things going on Twitch other than video gaming that really take the aesthetic and make it into like, this is simply a video channel for a particular kind of communication. And it doesn't require upon the same kind of naming identification. It's not like Facebook, you have to put in your proper name, you know, when Facebook did that. No, you can be your avatar, right? Like, you know, that's who you are. That's who you can reinvent. So it brings that promise back. And then how you represent yourself on video plays into that too. You know, so open access software is a big component behind Twitch in the architecture. That being OBS, Open Broadcasting System Software, is open architecture software for both Windows and Mac and Linux, all three. And if it wasn't for OBS, I don't think we would have Twitch the way it's happening either, because OBS allows us to layer video streams, to cut between cameras, and to do the kind of creative stuff that you see Goldarnest doing right now, and you'll see a lot of the DJs doing, like put in layers, put in video loops, and do that on, you know, you don't have to have the absolute latest in, you know, in, technology, like especially on a Windows machine. Actually, like things run pretty smoothly. On a Mac, it's harder. Don't get me started. But you know, if you have a relatively decent laptop, you can do this. So this is, you know, I mean, I hate to like, you know, unequivocally or innocently speak about like the democratization, you know, possibilities of this, because I think we're far more studied and cynical about the fundamental architecture, how we have zero control over that, and that sort of like free to killer sense, and how determined and surveyed and everything else, you know, we are. But nonetheless, that, you know, we can put the content out there. I think the most interesting thing, or the most possibly dangerous moment right now for Twitch DJs, is what will happen with copyright. So luckily we now do have, I think, some positive models moving forward from Mixcloud, because both Mixcloud and SoundCloud, especially Mixcloud, have figured out ways to you know, develop licensing deals. And record labels are maybe slowly, just finally, after decades, for the fuck's sake, starting to wake up to the fact that DJs actually promote their music for them for free. That we're not actually stealing it, that we bought it to begin with. We spent a load of money on it, especially if we're playing vinyl at ridiculous prices, and even digital. Even if you didn't buy the thing, you're probably buying something, and it just puts the music out there. And what blows my mind, you know, in like, if I was to be a nefarious capitalist, is I can't believe there's not simply more easier ways. Like, I go ahead, survey my stream for the music, and then provide automatic click-through links so that people can buy it. Like the potential for Twitch to be a click-through, so people can hear, you know, some DJs are able to do this because they're playing digital, and there's like bits of open source software that they can insert into their channel bot, because there's bots that we run that produce scripts that welcome people that we can interact with in the chat, just like IRC. There's like a light programming language behind that. We can run a bot, okay? But you can have bots that recognize your music, and that tag it and like train spot it effectively. But it works best with digital systems. With vinyl, it's almost impossible, and it depends what you're playing on vinyl. If you're playing more, you know, funk and soul and R&B and hip hop, that's going to be much more easily recognized. If I'm playing like, you know, Frankie Knuckles release #2 that just came out last year in a white label, forget it, right? like it's not going to quite work well. But there's the potential there in the architecture for Twitch and the record companies to actually do something positive, I think, within our capitalist system, which is figure out click-through ways, like micro revenue for the artists from this, so people can click through when they hear the track, you know, through like a Shazam kind of interface, and pay for it. And ditto with supporting the DJs, okay? And if you are listening in this weekend, you know, buy your DJ a beer if you're going to hang out for a bit. Follow the DJ, you know, subscribe, you know, tip them directly. There's often a direct tip, so it doesn't go to Twitch at all. And the
Bypass
fact that,
Bezos. Yeah.
yeah, and like the fact that Twitch allows direct tipping is like, I have to hand it to them. They didn't have to do that. You know, there's various choices that Twitch have made as a company that I think shows that at a certain level, there's people behind the architecture that respect the video gaming community that this came out of and understand that nerd / geek / hacker culture, because that's definitely what Twitch is tied into. And they've made a number of design, UX, and aesthetic choices that distinguish it from social media. Twitch is not easy to figure out at all. The interface on your mobile,
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a while. There's like a learning curve to like Twitch to figure out how to navigate Twitch. And when you use it on your mobile, like the stream will keep going as you pop out of it. You know, it'll do like picture in picture. And that's both amazing and yet frustrating as you try and figure out how this works. And, you know, the interface could be better. Like it could really be a lot better. And there were systems designed over the past couple of years that were better. But you know, they and I can't remember the name of the major one that popped up. PDS Mix, you must remember. Remember, everyone switched to it. Mixler, what was it?
Mixcloud.
Mixler.
Mixler, yeah, Mixler.
Yeah, Mixler.
They
yeah,
took Ninja away, which was like the highest grossing video gamer. They paid him like $13 million to switch from Twitch to Mixler.
Yeah, and that lasted all of like a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they took Mixler, like, you know, which is typical. Why we can't trust this architecture, you know, like we don't own the architecture, and that is a fundamental problem. You know, I mean, I was speaking to my students yesterday about, you know, social media and algorithmic discrimination and trying to explicate that to them. And I was like, fundamentally, public ownership of something like Facebook is ultimately the only solution for democratization of the internet. We need public ownership of the infrastructure. We need public ownership of the software layer. We remove the data surveillance algorithm. We remove the capitalization algorithms. And we actually can use social media in a way which would be public sphere democratization. That's the ultimately, I believe, the only way to resolve these issues around privatization, surveillance control, and algorithmic discrimination, which includes racial bias within algorithms and all kinds of things. Okay. I'm going to end here.
Yeah,
I think I've just been rambling, and I'm just going to pass it on now to PDS Mix. Yeah, and Ben, if you want to segue off this, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great stopping point. I was just going to try to interject because we're running low on time.
Yeah.
So yeah, PDS Mix. I think that's a great transition to you. PDS Mix has been working at the margins of copyright infringement culture for many years, and has been doing really great things. You know, with Snuggles, with Crumple Stock, with Booty Mashup. You know, which he's got regular shows on Booty Mashup, and the Crumple Stock event was amazing. He's also, you know, been a professional DJ for many years. He's worked with MTV Networks, WFMU, and even Louis Vuitton. I'm just reading that on your bio for the first time, so that's excellent. And he has performed on stage at the Grand Ole Opry, among other things. So yeah, take it away, PDS. I think I'm looking forward to what you have to say.
Well, again, Ben and Tobias, thank you so much for inviting me to come speak with you guys today. I've been invited previously by Ben. God, it's been a decade.
It's since, like a decade ago. Yeah,
it was a decade. Yeah, you had the mashup.
I think that was
It was like a mashup panel with the Evolution Control Committee and whatnot, and we were all talking about formatism. You know, like cassettes and vinyl and stuff like that. To go more to the heart of the matter of what we're talking about here. I'm a professional DJ. Next year, I'll be professionally DJing for 25 years now. Which honestly, my first actual and this is not a lie, my first actual DJ gig was in 5th grade. A friend of mine, I had one turntable and a pair of like tower speakers. Another friend of mine had another turntable. We did it at some like little church thing and invited our school. It was really, really amazing and set me on this path for forever. But as Ben says, you know, the heart of what I love, I'm an open format DJ. You know, grew up on hip hop and eclectic, like outsider music and, you know, electronic music. I love it all. And so I play it all. And, you know, I was into Negative Land and all the Plunderphonic stuff, you know, growing up, again, thanks to WFMU and other college radio stations that unfortunately now are disappearing across the country. But that being said, in the early 2000s, I really got into what is now dubbed mashups. Originally it was bastard pop or bootlegs, stuff like that. Imagine taking like 2 or more of your favorite songs, smooshing them together and making it sound like one song, or at least working to a point where you're like, wow, this is really fascinating. Or as Booty Mashup, which is my family, puts it, ruining your song since 2003. This being said, when the pandemic hit, you know, I've worked my way up through, you know, little tiny clubs to like actual big clubs to working with, you know, retail and stuff like that. More recently, I was doing like private party and festival type stuff. And then the pandemic hit and that all stopped. And when you're used to, you know, commanding, you know, money to get paid, you know, it's my profession, and then now you can't do that safely, or you might kill your family or your mom or hurt other people. You have to pivot. You have to pivot really hard. And I had started looking into Twitch, thanks to I'm trying to remember who tipped me onto it, but I know that at the exact same time, Adriana and DJ Trip and a couple other people over Booty Mashup were also looking at the exact same thing, and we were like, look, let's all form a Voltron and get together with Booty Mashup, launch this platform on or launch the brand on Twitch. And when we did, you know, of course, like Tobias had said, it's a big learning curve. First of all, you have to have lights. Like the reason why my video is so clear right now, I have a ring light here. I've got a key light up at the top. I've got, well, those are the only 2 lights I have on right now, but I've got a whole series of lights. You guys will see it on Saturday. If you tune into my channel, I'm DJing, I think it's 2 to 5 Central, which is like noon to 3 Pacific, and then 7 p.m. to 10, yeah, 7 to 10 UK CEST, I think. And again, that's a whole other thing, like Tobias said, is like you start to learn like your time zones. Because, you know, trying to like navigate, you know, the people in your chat or let people know when you're on, that's the whole thing. Well, anyway, to go back to the Booty Mashup thing, we pivoted really hard. We didn't know what we were doing. You know, you start off, you have to like get your channel affiliated, which means, you know, you have to go through the metrics of like getting enough people, streaming for enough time, whatever else like that. And once you're in, you have the monetization of your channel. Now, this is key, and this is the thing that makes Twitch so much better, because here's the other thing. All of my other DJ friends at the time were either completely panicked, or they were streaming on Instagram, they were streaming on Facebook, they were streaming on all these other services that were immediately shutting down their streams. There was no monetization other than, you know, hey, maybe put a piece of paper up that says, hey, here's my PayPal address, whatever else like that. And they weren't seeing a lot of success. And I didn't even bother with Facebook because, again, knowing, you know, coming from the background of knowing platforms shutting people down for copyright, automatic copy bots, I knew that that was not going to be the way. But I'd seen that with Twitch, there were brand name DJs that were hopping on Twitch at the exact same time I was. So, and I got on May. Oh no, not May. I'm sorry, March is when it was like March 13th. By April, I was taking the wrong attack to Twitch initially. With Twitch, I was seeing it like I would normally do one of my performances, and that is that I would perform. I would, you know, get my records together. I would turn around and set a scene. You know, you have a green screen. You'd have you know, your video in the background. You'd have your records pulled out, and you're doing it as a one-time performance. So it's like, here I am. I'm going to perform. All right, everybody, you know, enjoy it, whatever, and then I'm done, right? So on Booty Mashup, I was just performing every once in a while. Thankfully, in early April, a longtime friend slash fan of Booty Mashup, who just happens to be a pretty decent celebrity, shouted out Booty Mashup early on their Twitter account in April. And during my set in mid-April, it was like one of my first real big sets on Booty Mashup on the Twitch channel. We got inundated with about 2,000 people. And for somebody who's just at the very beginning of the pandemic, who's trying to find out if anything is viable all of a sudden, boom, the fact that now all of a sudden you're sitting here DJing, there's everybody sitting here talking, saying, you know, hey, this is great. Oh, I love this song, blah, blah, blah. you know, and your PayPal link is on and your phone's blowing up because people are just throwing money at you. And so at that point, I'm like, this is totally viable. This is totally doable as far as like, you know, if I can do it right, right? Well, the reason why what I was doing was wrong. Well, first of all, Booty Mashup and my fam are fantastic. If you're not already following, by the way, it's twitch.tv/Booty Mashup. If somebody will put the link in. It's all, once again, 100% mashups is what we spend. There's about 8 or 9 of us that are DJs over there right now. The family is larger and it spans all over the world because they are a worldwide brand. They've been around since 2003. But now I think they're peaking out right now. They just surpassed 15,000 followers on their channel. Well, yeah. So I was doing it wrong because I was only DJing on Booty Mashup for the first year. So I was, and I couldn't relive that success of the 2,000, you know, people. I mean, for a while it was like 1,000. For a while it was a couple, you know, 800 or whatever else like that. But as the pandemic wore on and more people got on, that number lowered. But we averaged out somewhere between like 200 and 500 is where it averaged out of initially. But doing these individual shows, it wasn't as lucrative as it should have been, in my opinion. And the reason why I say I did it wrong is that really, in my opinion, you need to have a team of people that you can, you know, do the raid train like Tobias is you know, heading up here, get together with other DJs, form a Voltron, and then not just have a centrally located channel where you all can play, but also think of it like a wagon wheel, right? You have your center channel here, all of your individual DJs have their channel, and then you can raid back and forth within your own network. A really great example of this on Twitch that is doing really well is oh gosh, Club Mesh is the name of this, like 3 girls, 3 women that are DJs that do a fantastic job as far as like capturing their audience and really sustaining those numbers and really like engaging their community. They've built a really fantastic community. Yeah, definitely check out Club Mesh. But that being said, we've done the same thing. For the first year, I actually got into a pet project because, again, mashups have now reached 20 years as of this year. As of August of this year, mashups as a subculture has been together for 20 years. And so last year, I wanted to start actually doing an interview show that was called Masters of Mash, where I was interviewing some of the top producers of mashups from those early days, like Go Home Productions, Evolution Control Committee, you know, DJ Lobster Dust, stuff like that. And I was actually doing pretty well on my own channel, as far as like getting donations to help the show keep going and stuff like that, as well as, you know, contributing to a project that I do want to flesh out into a full length, either a documentary or a book or both. And then it wasn't until this year that I was like, I need to stop my interview shows, and I really need to focus on this idea of the wagon wheel and start DJing on my own channel. So since April of this year, I've started DJing on my own channel, really building up. Like, I've bought into a bunch more lights within our activity, and this is the real key to Twitch, and this is probably where I'll try to wrap it up here, because Alexandra still needs to be able to speak as well. There is nothing like Twitch, in my opinion. Mixcloud purports to have it. So does OnlyFans and stuff like that. But if you look at their service agreements, the reason why Mixcloud has worked out deals or whatnot is that they get a much larger cut of your earnings than Twitch takes away from you. That's while you're still giving half of your gift subs or half of your sub costs to Jeff Bezos, they at least make it so that the money on bits, which is direct donations, is paid for. The money they make is paid for in advance by the viewer, and all of your bits go directly to you. And I'm barely scraping by right now on Twitch. That's only because I think right now I've amassed 1,300 viewers. Again, I was like at like 600 or something because I was doing interview shows. But then as of April of this year, I really pounded it out, and I was like, I just need to get on the grind. I have several friends of mine that, again, if you stream at least 3 days a week, you can definitely build up your numbers pretty quickly. I've been able to add about almost, about 600 people in the last like 5 months or so to my channel. And as those numbers increase, so will the number of people that will, support you, like via Patreon or, direct tips or bits and subs and stuff like that. You definitely see superstars like Four Color Zach and stuff like that, who command much larger audiences, who've done the grind where they were DJing like 5 to 7 days a week. And all of a sudden now they're making that not only they verified, which means they get a larger cut of the earnings from Amazon, but Amazon pays them directly for their programming, and they're making, thousands of dollars, large amounts of money from what I understand. But yeah, anyway, Twitch is a great platform because the interactivity is really where it's at. You've got people from around the world that you can speak to directly, and it changes the way that you're DJing too. It's not just, you're not playing to a club. It's like you have a friend in the DJ booth with you, and you're able to play things that you would never be able to play in a club, that wouldn't work on dance floors, but work instantaneously in a connection setting. The giant joke that I made in the early 2020 was that, I'm sure you heard the old saying, DJs are the new cam girls. Well, for me, it's more than that. You're not just the new cam girl. DJs are the new Steve from Blues Clues, because if you do your channel right, you're speaking directly to your audience, and it's like, how are you today? Come on, let's go on this journey together. And it's like there's this entrancement that goes along, this connection that you can make personally, in addition to the connection that you can make with your music. And again, I can't do that on Facebook. I can't do that on any other platform. If you want to talk about like studying something, I'd love to see somebody talk about the problems with Twitch, which are that the bits, the subs, the games, while being something that really does help someone professionally like me be able to make some money doing what I do without having to risk my life or harm others. It also feeds into gambling mentalities, because it's lots of blinking lights, lots of gamification, lots of problematic, give me money, give me money, give me money. And so people just hit that slot machine and they get that dopamine rush. Tobias was saying, he'll DJ and he'll see people from, one side of the country wake up and go to bed and wake up and go to bed. We see the same thing on Booty Mashup. We've also done, 50 and 60 and 72 hour streams that, we all tag team on, and you'll see people, and I'm serious. There will be people that are there for every single minute of it.
Yeah.
Like tuned in for 72 hours and talking about, I haven't slept yet. Oops, I missed my meds. And so that's another cool thing about any community that you find on Twitch, is that you start seeing people in the chat taking care of one another and reaching out and saying, hey, med alert. And also, hey, hydrate, get your water, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, go to bed, And so there's a bond that can be made on Twitch, not just through audiences together, but through audiences and the presenter or the DJ. I have to say, like, I have my friends and I have my family, as what I call them. I say hashtag virtually family to my fans, or to, again, they're not just fans. These are people that I've connected with over multiple months, that show up on my channel time after time. We talk on, we have Discord, which is, another little platform that's really great for being able to talk back and forth when I'm not on stream. And yeah, it's just the level of connection. I've seen more people in my communities from the mashup days, as well as Snugglers from where I know Professor Ben from almost 20 years ago. We're all coming together. We're all coming together for the first time, where we've all been friends on Facebook and MySpace before that, and Friendster before that.
Friendster.
Well, don't make me go to Tribe 8. But anyway, this being said, I'm literally... the level of engagement on this platform is great. And when somebody in the chat earlier had said, why isn't somebody else making this? I agree. Honestly, what I think is that I think that there's going to be a lot of people trying to capture this magic and put it onto platforms. And my whole hope, and this is, and to what Tobias was saying earlier, my whole hope is that someone is doing it in a way that it can be removed from the advertising machine, removed from, because remember how Facebook was actually somewhat palatable before they turned it into an advertising platform, you know? And but imagine, like, if anybody has an iPhone out there, with iPhone there's this thing that basically allows you to share videos off, you know, just personally, whatever else like that. If you can decentralize a platform like this and make it like Twitch, I mean, I would hope that that would be the future. But anyway, yes, again, once again, thank you guys for having me. Come see Saturday, PDS Mix. I'll play some stuff. It'll be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation, PDS Mix. Thank you. Thank you. So I see we can go over a little bit because we are pushing time, but so we do have more time to finish here because we have one more presenter, Alexandra Urbano. I've been working with Alexandra for like 2 years now, right? And it's just been marvelous. I mean, she is a DJ and a producer of psytrance music, and she is working on her PhD at Nova in Portugal. She has a master's degree about the use of music in the Portuguese colonial war in Angola, and she also has a degree in piano and music therapy. And she's working on her PhD on psychedelic trance, studying terminological aspects to understand the relation between audible characteristics of melodic and rhythmic samples of psychedelic trance and fandom dynamics. I hope I said that right, but it's really interesting work. And so yes, welcome, Alexandra. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. But first of all, before all of that, I'm a raver for more than 20 years almost, and I went to 10 Boom festivals at least that I remember. So yeah, first of all of that, I'm a party girl. So, and with all of this, and I need to say that my life changed a lot. And after a moment of despair, in which my DJ activity slowed down, my research focused on my reflection about the slowing down process, and which of my DJ tasks changed and how, which festivals resisted the pandemic, and which psytrance music, and particularly the sound characteristics emerging during this time from 2019 to 2022. When we had the first lockdown in Europe in March 2020, I just went back from a tour in Asia, and I was playing and researching. By that time, with COVID-19, everything was cancelled and closed, and as we all know, and all this platform I'm trying to be as fast as I can. All these new platforms appear, and the DJs came from all over the world, playing at home, in their studios, in their garden, everywhere. The first psytrance festival I remember online was the World Quarantine live stream. It was 24 hours a day for 2 weeks in a row. In this between of ups and downs, thinking about what I should do in my research in my life, I realized that it's urgent and to change the direction of my thesis, my research. So live streams in COVID-19 will be part of my research, and I had to admit it. I'm still trying not to talk that much about it, but it's getting more and more difficult. So because of this, I focused on the live streams promoted by Unite, Let the Music Unite Us, on YouTube, not Twitch. A platform where some festival promoters and labels united and promoted live streams from all over the world, bringing DJs and public together again. So my focus was on the comments and type of emojis, and how do the audience react? Does the DJs interact with the public? What is the relationship between listener and music? Is there any interaction between the different viewers? Do the DJs earn any money? You were already talking about that. For their work, it's an online gig, right? So if it's a gig, perhaps they should earn some money. For what I speak with some of my DJs partners who made live streams, they didn't earn any money for their online work, and they had to leave. They had to pay their rent. They had a life to continue. They have family. Some of them, they have kids, and they were struggling they were and they are still struggling for more than a year to pay their lives. Some of them, they changed their jobs. They tried to find another work. Well, trying to keep my focus on all of this, and I focus on the emojis and feelings of the viewers, and they usually express the more through emojis and comments on this platform. So focusing on Asterisk, Fax, Vini Vici, Avalon, Tristan, Ace Ventura, Reality Test, Major 7, and the Portuguese Yestermorrow, I realized that the DJs try to interact with the public. They can't see it or feel their energy, but they always try to look at the camera and dance and feel the share and feel the love and share their love of their music. When I check the emojis, most of the time they are elusive to party moments: bombs, fires, headphones, aliens, hearts, rockets, stars, drinks, and mushrooms. Probably about psychotropic substance, right? So comments recall to partying memories, psychotropic substance, drinks, and private party moments. People try to feel that they are still inside of the festival, living their moment. They scream, like in caps, like if they are inside of a dance floor, like, "You got this, let's go, you're a king, boom, ready to roll." I must say that for me as a DJ, it's not the same to play without the energy of the crowd. Of course, it is better than nothing, but it's not the same at all. And I've spoken with some of my DJ partners, and they said the same. What they missed most is the energy of the crowd, and of course the money, because they have a house to pay and everything to live. So there was a Psytrance live stream. Of course, there was Psytrance live streams before COVID, but it is completely different to make it just for fun or to promote our work than making a live stream without all this COVID-19 pressure and stress of not knowing what is going to happen next. It is a void of questions inside of us. Psytrance, it's a way of life. It's a share of energy between DJ ravers and between ravers or ravers DJs. So with live streams, what is this feeling that feeds us while we play? While all of this, I try to always keep on my focus and trying to find and figure out where are parties and on Earth with places and parties. And I must say that I'm a bit lucky because I could play in August 2020 in Portugal. We had a bit of some small parties that started to be allowed during the day from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. with a lot of restrictions, but at least we could make it. With some squares drawn on the floor with 5 people inside of the square, dancing only with your group, but better than nothing, as I'm used to say. It is what it is. So, but after this, in November, a second wave came, everything was closed, and a new curfew was on the way. I tried again, another plan. So I was supposed to go to Mexico, but I got COVID, and when I made I got COVID on the 21st December while I was playing in a gig in Portugal. And when I made, but no symptoms, nothing. When I made the PCR, it was positive. So I got shocked and I didn't went to Mexico. 14 days at home, another plan again. And I'm one of the DJs someone talked about this morning while I was on the way to find a place with a good connection. And I'm one of the DJs who went to Zanzibar to play because there were parties without no COVID restrictions, nothing. Everything was happening like if it's normal life. So I went for 15 days. I stayed for 1 month and a half, almost 2, while in playing and researching. And it was the only place where if you wear a mask, you have COVID. So it's better not to wear it. And people were dancing all together. We could share the light. We could share like, everything was like normal. I even forgot that was COVID outside, I must say. After this, I went to South Africa because some promoters from South Africa, where we thought that everything was closed, invited me to play there. And I was there in 5 festivals for 4 weeks. Everything was okay too. No COVID restrictions, just a bit like we could not travel on the highway from midnight till 4 a.m. Otherwise, we could do everything. We could dance. There was 2,000 people inside of a festival, not like the 10,000 they are used to, but it was better than nothing again. So this summer, I was supposed to be in some festivals, but they were all postponed. And I made only for research. I was traveling in my camper van now, but I had a mechanical problem. So that's why I'm not without cam. I'm not on field work. I just reached Portugal again today, in the middle of a big mess and adventure. And well, what I realized is that during this summer is that some of the festivals, they are live streaming while they are happening. So I leave a question here. And my question is, maybe now as all of this changed, the party scene changed, the festivals changed, will the festivals keep the live streams while they are happening? Because some of the DJs are live streaming, some of the festival promoters are live streaming on Instagram, on Facebook, maybe on Twitch. I must say that I didn't realize it. And this is something that I wanted to keep on researching, because maybe we will have two ways of being in a party. So thank you for having me. I tried to be fast I could, and sorry if I don't prepare that much, but as I told you, I'm living like for 2 weeks inside of mechanical problems and car insurance. Thank you for having me, and thank you all. It was really nice to be here. Bye.
Thank you. Awesome presentation. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Any questions from the chat or from any of us? I think we could probably go on for five or 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, from the chat.
I would.
Hi, Gani.
I just want to.
It's good to see people out there.
That last question that you asked about, kind of the live streams after COVID, or after, people don't have to do this anymore. Will these festivals keep the live streams? So I attended a trance DJ event in LA, maybe about I don't know, 2-3 months ago, and they were live streaming the event, and it was interesting because it was it wasn't my favorite music necessarily. It was kind of this melodic trance thing, and it was somebody who's clearly kind of visually focused on her just on what she was doing. She had a very elaborate kind of stage presence going on, and a lot of the time she was kind of looking at what was clearly the camera for the live stream, and it almost seemed like we're flipping it around. Like now the live scene is being staged for the live stream, at least in that instance. And I really thought that's kind of interesting. And it reminds me of the scholarship that was done on the kind of early days of rock and roll, when they kind of shifted from the album being a record of the recording of the live performance to the live performance being a way to sell more albums, right? And so I wonder if something as similar is going on in relation to that question.
Well, to that, Ben, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad that Alexandra brought that up, is that since the beginning of the pandemic, one of the first things that I was talking to Adriana over at Booty Mashup about is that we're not sitting on our laurels by taking on this new platform. We're adding a new skill set, learning how to put on, basically turn your room in your house into a television studio and learn how to capture a whole entirely different audience. A lot of the people that are tuned into our channels are people that have never been to a club before, or can't get out because they are neurodivergent, or they are, are not as physically, able to move around, stuff like that. But there's also a ton of people, again, this is a whole brand new world. So what you're doing is you're essentially reaching into their living room or their mobile device and showing them this world that you're familiar with. And we've seen over the last year and a half, like, good example, there's another if we would have had enough time, I would have loved to have brought Dance Commander Disco along with this panel. What Dance Commander Disco is a woman named Rami who has started a Zoom dance room that works alongside of Booty Mashup. And that way the people in the chat can actually have a physical space to, like, set up their living room with some lights and dance on screen with the DJs and participate in the same way that you would be at a club, right? Now with this, you have all these different people, and it allows them to not only do that, but they eventually, after a year of doing this together on stream, they've made real life meetups where they now, from all over the country or in other countries, are coming to one location and meeting. And since California has loosened restrictions on live events, Booty Mashup is back in San Francisco and LA doing live events, and they stream on Saturdays from their live Saturdays on their live events. live in the club. And like you were saying, they play to the camera, they're still talking to their audience and stuff like that. And you'll see people make that transition from the chat room into like, hey, we actually drove to DNA Lounge in San Francisco, and now we're here and we're doing this. But again, and just to wrap this up, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was like, we're learning this new skill set so that when we are back into live clubs, the best promoters will be doing a mixture of bridging these audiences. And basically you just have your own MTV for your promotional night, that not only you can have a reporter there live at the night, you can sit there and interview people in the line waiting. You can have specialized green screen rooms in the club that people can turn around and go inside and dance and be on the stream, possibly on a screen behind you. I mean, there's so much interactivity that is there that I don't see being explored as much as it should, but that I hope will come out of all of this to really make it so that when, you know, kids in the future, or even people like myself who I just passed 45, when I want to go to the club, I'm getting into the pre-stream of the DJ, and then I'm going to and going, oh yeah, I'm getting ready for the club, and then watching, oh yeah, the line is that long, and then going into the club and being part of the performance myself for my friends in other states that might want to join. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but let me just say something. My friends, they even dress for a live stream, like if they are really partying.
Yeah,
like they dress like if they
Oh yeah,
to a psychedelic trance festival. You know, like with all those psychedelic lamps and lights everywhere. So it's like a trance party inside of your living room, but it's not the same actually, right? We don't have the energy of our friends together. We are not dancing inside of 1,000.
You don't, but you do in ways. Again, I totally, I implore you, join us for a Dance Commander Disco on a Friday night.
They're really fun. Yeah.
Booty mashup, and you will see all the people that come week after week, and the energy that they bring is just tremendous. And then you'll see people who have their own pods of people that they feel safe with, and they'll come to each other's living rooms and they'll dance. And so you do have a little bit more than that interactivity. And as the pandemic rolls back, you're going to start to see these individual rooms be packed living rooms all over the country, all together on a Zoom room, where it's like, you know, you can have like a local party. It's like, come over, we're going to dance a booty mashup. And yeah, then all of a sudden, I mean, yeah, it's just back again. This technology needs to merge with current like promotions.
Yeah, it will never stop. It will be the future.
Yeah,
like,
it's going to totally be the future. And then
yeah,
not even talking about augmented reality.
I still believe that we're going to have festivals and big parties again, but they will be live streamed and people will be in Zoom dancing all together or not, because like in Boom, with a lot of people, they want to have a ticket and they don't have it. So if they live streamed it, people will be at home dancing. Maybe, I don't know.
And to talk to the capitalist side of things, again, when you turn around and say, was it how this will be implemented by the industry and why they're not doing this? I mean, think about it. You already have concerts where the first couple of rows are $5,000 a piece, and they come with a VIP meet and greet to meet the artist and get their CD and whatever else like that. Imagine part of that tier being the at-home VIP package, where you can be on the screen behind, you know, your favorite DJ or artist dancing as part of the thing, and you're paying this premium to be a part of that experience.
Yeah.
So there's lots to explore. There's so much to explore. This is totally the future.
This is totally the future. Yeah. Yeah. This is the new life and the future life. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. Ben, quick question, Tobias.
Yeah.
If we're wrapping up, there is a video that I'd love to share of before this pandemic started. I actually, and to speak more to my copyright infringement side, I made a cut up called "This Apocalypse Smells Funny." In late 2019, awesome. Before the pandemic hit.
I remember this. This is great.
I'm going to click this. Hopefully it'll work. It says share YouTube video.
Yeah, I'm going to take my horse to the old town road. I'm going to ride up like an accident. End of the world. I'm gonna bomb the shit out of them. The end of the world. I don't care. Right. It's the. What do you think? I don't care. I don't care. What do you think? I don't care. Voodoo man. Back again, voodoo as master. Making funky records with the voodoo man. Voodoo man. Back once again with the ill behavior. Making funky records with the voodoo man. Can you feel it? Voodoo man. Come on. Stop whining. Oh no. No more complaining. It's time now to go to the bathroom. Fart. What's this smell? Nothing. Fart. What's this smell? There is no fart. Oh, who got the cheese? Shut up. Fart. Oh, who got the cheese? Shut up. Will it is, I got the bag, tell a friend, she got some ass, bring it in, bitch I'm the news, seeing it, yeah, will it is, I got the bag, tell a friend.
That's the Crumple Bangers logo, by the way.
Bitch I'm the news,
And you might recognize this person.
There's a Knob Hill Foods plastic vegetable bag after me, damn it.
I'm attempting to avert the apocalypse.
Running ain't an option cause the soul can't change. And I'm tired of being humble, bitch, I feel no way. It's that young nigga shit, I might put up to your being shy. Will it in, I got the bag, tell a friend, she got the mag, bring it in. Bitch, I'm the news, seeing it, yeah. Will it in, I got the bag, tell a friend, she got the mag, bring it in. Bitch, I'm the news, seeing it. Got a Tatiana, put it in designer, she a Tatiana, she a sorta kinda, she pure cute, so she really fine, it's sorta weird, and she got some K, give me OPP for my ODB, these ABC, we get ABC, I'm a young dreadhead with anxiety, and I love it when a bitch nigga trying me.
Oh, baby. I feel it now. What? I don't know. But I feel it in my bones.
So yeah, that was part of a production challenge called 72 Rebooted. We're actually starting 72 again, or I'm doing my part tomorrow. It's already started as part of the Crumple Bangers cohort. A bunch of different producers get together, and we have 72 hours with which to produce a track that is part of a long form mix. We pick up where the last person, left off, and then end our track with just a drum beat, which there's the Shags drum beat, and then the next person takes over. So yep, that's 72. That's this apocalypse smells funny. I really tried to avert the apocalypse, guys. I'm sorry it didn't work. That was November of
A better mashup would have done it.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was amazing. Yeah, what a great way to end. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Then,
well, thank you to everybody for this is a fantastic panel, and thanks to everybody who stayed over to listen, and come see us on Twitch, raidfest.com. The whole schedule's there, and you can figure out what time it is and click at whatever DJ is playing. Right now, it looks like it's Liam Thomas Maloney is playing. So yeah.
and be sure to follow everybody on the list. Go follow, press that follow button.
Yeah, the little heart. Press the heart when you like what you're hearing. Yeah, totally.
It's important.
Right on. Well, thanks everyone.
Bye everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much. I'm putting some links in the chat here. Raidfest.com. We'll be going for basically 2.5 days out in front of you. So, whenever you're around this weekend, put it on. If you're driving, like internet connectivity is everywhere now. You can basically have Twitch like a radio station, and it's nice to show up and show support. And as research ethnographer academics, this is a chance to dive into a really interesting community of people from around the planet. We have DJs from Japan, Australia, Europe, Brazil, and all over the United States and Canada. So, this is just a small selection of the networks that we've organically tapped into as well. And we just want to keep growing them So yeah, please feel free to drop in. And if you want to participate next time in one of our raid fests, please reach out to Ben and I. You know, even if you've never been on Twitch, we're happy to give you the basics, and it's not that difficult to do if you have a webcam and a way to hook up your music. So yeah, that's about it. And hopefully we'll see you. We're DJing, you know, in the middle of the morning for those of you in Europe, but we're DJing Sunday afternoon, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. That will be 7 p.m. Through midnight or close or whatever for those in Europe. So you'll be able to catch Ben and I Sunday night. Tune in. You'll see us do the tag team live, back and forth. We'll be exhausted and wiped. It'll be, it'll be the dance called after party. So yeah, join us. Yeah, mad love.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
Right on.
Thank you.
everybody.
That's
Bye-bye.
from Portugal. Bye-bye. Bye.